Thank you so much, and welcome to our joint webinar today for Centerpoint and Variato. Our webinar today will be how would your company benefit from an IT machine? Some questions that some of our companies are asking are listed on the screen now. What are my employees doing? What webinars are they visiting? Is this for my business? Are my employees actually working during the day? Just some of the questions, if you want to just look at the list quickly to see if any of these ever pop into your mind about your employees. So these are some of the questions that we'll be addressing today. On to the next screen, we'll be doing an overview on how your company will benefit from an IT time machine. So just to review, Variato is an innovator in actionable user and entity behavior analytics and the global leader in user activity monitoring. Our focus today will be on our products, Variato 360 and Variato Recon, and some of the definitions that we'll be going over are, on the next slide, says user entity behavior analytics, patterns of human behavior, anomaly detections, some user activity monitoring, the collection of data focused on the point of interaction between users and resources. Why are these needed? They're needed because we need to watch out for insider threat detection, employee investigations, and productivity monitoring. And on the next few slides, I will go into that more in depth. The first one being insider threat detection. Beware of the enemy within. Early detection is really important. It is related to insider activity, proper coverage, informed response. You want to be armed with the information provided by anomaly alerting, and you want to take proactive action to prevent any damage. And you also want to have an insurance policy. For employee investigations, they're a fact of life. You have to get it right. You want to reduce the risk and get over with it. You want to make sure that you save time, save money. You want to increase your certainty and reduce the risks. Should you have an investigation, you want to make sure that you are investigating your employees. You want to join thousands of companies that have relied on Variato to provide reliable and defensive results. And last, productivity monitoring. You can check your employees and see their active time, focus time, total time, staffing intelligence, plan effectively. You want to increase your efficiencies. You want to raise the bottom line and improve the bottom line. Some of the ways that we do this is through our collectors. You can monitor all of the following through document tracking, file transfers, with emails sent and received, chat, IM, keystrokes typed. So our Variato 360 product is an activity monitoring software. It's a comprehensive enterprise class. You get the visibility is online and communications activity, covers higher risk insiders, a vital tool for response and use for productivity monitoring, detailed contextual visibility of your employees. It records the activities and the alerts on actions, numerous review options, and it integrates with leading SIMs, and it tightly integrates with our Recon product. Next slide, Variato Recon. That's our user and entity behavior analytics software. Detect insider threat. It covers lower risk and higher risk insiders. It alerts when meaningful anomalies are detected. It is designed to be highly usable without lengthy turning periods and expensive professional services. And our Variato Recon learns what normal patterns of behavior exist within an organization, and it watches for anomalies that suggest threats to data security, and then it alerts when the meaningful anomalies are detected. And some of the ways that we detect on our 360 product is through the websites visited, and you can report, alert, and review on any person within your organization, and you can determine which ones you would like to, or pick all of them. Next slide is our Variado Recon and our 360 and the different pattern alerts that work within Variado Recon and the anomaly alerts and the keywords. And if you see on the screen, that's how it works. And then you get working with Variado 360, activity data, activity alerts, keywords, and it also reviews and analyzes. Now we're going to do a demonstration. Our senior SE is going to give you a demonstration on our Variado 360 and Recon product and how they will help your business. I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you everyone for joining. Again, my name is Steve Voorhees, one of the senior sales engineers here at Variado. And today I'm going to run through a presentation of our Variado 360 and Recon solution. It can be used, again, as detecting insider threat, performing investigations, and also conducting productivity concerns. I'm going to go through this demonstration at a very high level, just so you guys have an understanding of what the capabilities are of this product, how the data looks, how the alerting works, and then we'll leave it open towards the end for some additional questions that will be read out, and then I'll answer them verbally. So again, very high level, and don't forget to put your questions in the question box as I go through this. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, what I have displayed here is what we call our data collector. It's really our recording policies, and it really can record Windows, Mac, and Android devices. And this follows in line with both 360 and Recon. They record exactly the same thing. Now, it's profile-based, so essentially you can create as many policies as needed based off of departments, locations. Maybe you have high-risk departments, or that could be assigned towards contractors, vendors, employees that put in their 2 weeks notice, or under investigation. What I have displayed here is what our data collector looks like and what it can capture. Again, I mentioned it's policy-based, so you can turn on and off what you don't do and don't want to record. So it's very adjustable. Now, I'm going to go through these at, again, a high level, but kind of give you an understanding of how they can help you out with different areas. So starting with chat and IM. This could be used for productivity concerns. It could be used to detect insider threat or disgruntled employees, as well as data leakage. We record both sides of a chat and IM, whether it's internal based, maybe going through Skype for business or Office Communicator, but also Facebook and Google Hangouts, we can record those chats. So how it could be used to detect disgruntled employees? Typically starts out with a chat, with internal communications with other employees. So we can detect on certain keywords and pick up on those keywords and alert you when they happen to give you an indication that maybe an employee might be going south. As far as data leakage, it's easy to open a sensitive company document, copy the contents, and paste it into that chat and IM, and then erase the history of it. Well, we capture every bit of that. And again, we can look for keywords and alert you on it. All right, as far as productivity, if they're logging into web-based, like Facebook, and they're chatting with friends, during office hours, you could lose productivity with that. Websites visited, this is a very powerful feature for productivity too, in the sense that we capture every website that a user can get to. And we utilize 3 unique time metrics that Eileen kind of alluded to. It's called active, focus, and total time. To give you a better understanding of how that works, I have Google Chrome right here. So think of active time as your keyboard and mouse activity. So that's you typing, scrolling, and clicking within a website. So right now I'm in Google, and if I go over here to YouTube, as I'm scrolling through this, I'm actually active in it. And if I'm clicking on any of these videos and watching, I'm active. Focus time is what tab or application is in focus. Right now it's YouTube. Google is out of focus, so focus time paused. As soon as I click on Google, focus time pauses for YouTube and resumed for Google when I clicked out of it earlier. Click back into YouTube, it pauses again for Google. And then total time is from the time you open it to the time you actually close the tab. We give you those 3 time metrics for every tab open. Email activity is going to do just that. It's going to record your internal email, whether it's going through an Exchange server or Lotus Notes. But the biggest one everyone's concerned with is webmail. So we see all webmail. And that's everything related to the emails. We're going to give you the date and time, the device it came from, what application was used. Maybe it was Outlook, or maybe they're logged into the web portal. So we'll show you that too. Who the email came from, who it went to, and that's everybody part of the email thread. The subject line, the carbon copy, and my favorite's the blind carbon copy, because that's a way you can exfiltrate data without going unnoticed. Plus, we'll give you the body of the email and the contents of it, including email attachments. Files transferred. This one could be thought of as moving data up and down through the internet. So we can show you uploads and downloads. Are your users uploading large amounts of information to an FTP server? Do you have individuals running peer-to-peer sharing programs on the machines you're not aware of? Or it can show you simple things like if I was to log into Gmail and upload an attachment or download one, that will show you file transfers. The keystrokes typed. Think of this as a full-blown keylogger. It can be used for a couple different ways. It could be used to detect what privileged users are doing on your servers, or contractors or vendors that may log into them. Maybe you want to know what commands they're typing. Or if you're an engineering firm, maybe you're monitoring SQL DBAs and you want to know what commands they're typing. In the event that they made a mistake, you can go back and review those. It could also be used for data entry folks too, because we can calculate how many keys they've pressed throughout the day. Now we record this in 2 methods, formatted and raw. Formatted would be the end result. For instance, if I was to type this out, or I was composing an email, let's say then I backspace over a couple of these words. That will be raw, so I can show you how many times I pressed the backspace key to delete over these 4 words. And then what did I type afterwards? Program activity, this will fall in line with websites visited, kind of give you productivity concerns here. So what applications are our users interacting with? Are they business related or unbusiness related? IT might like this, and security might like it too, to see are users installing applications that are unapproved. And then what are they doing with those applications? Like websites visited, you'll get the active, focus, and total time. User status, easiest way to think of this is like a virtual time card. And line managers really like this one, because we can show you in a 24-hour graph that's customizable based off your hours of operation, when are users logging in and when are they active, or when are they logged in and inactive. To give you an idea how that would work is, let's say I came in at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was active for 45 minutes doing emails, and then I had a meeting come up. I was logged in and inactive up during that meeting for 2 hours. Then I come back, I unlock my desktop, and now I'm logged in and active again. It's a good indicator to see if employees are coming in or leaving later than normal. If they have remote access into their servers, into their machines, are they logging in at off hours at the time? So that's a good indicator there. Now, document tracking is the most powerful feature here. In a sense, it will show you data and movement. So is our data going to cloud storage, network drives, and that's all of them, USB, anything burned to a CD or DVD, anything printed. You know, there's a lot of individuals now that are using these 2 as the primary method for data exfil, but we're forgetting about the old sneaker net method. Let's print out a customer list, put it in our bag, and walk it out of the building, going unnoticed. But we see all printed documents. For the devices, we can see creating new files, writing to an existing, deleting, and that might be a concern if an employee is about to leave the organization, and then renaming. We can show you the before and after. So if I took confidential.xls and I renamed it to something less conspicuous, before moving it to a USB or emailing it, sending out through a chat, you'll want to see the before and after of that name. All right, last feature here is network activity. This is pretty much going to show you bandwidth consumption. So what users are consuming the most internet bandwidth, but we could also show you what applications. For instance, if an FTP server is running on someone's machine and you're not aware of it. I've had network admins find gaming servers running on their production machines they weren't aware of, because we can show you the application, how much bandwidth it's using, IP address, port it's talking on, domain it's talking to, and connections, and so forth. And then lastly here is screen snapshots. Think of this as a CCTV camera. You walk into a bank, you walk into a convenience store, hospital, you're on camera. Kind of the same principle here, but we're recording what's displayed on the user's monitors, and we can capture it up to 8 monitors. By default, we take a snapshot every 30 seconds, and that's configurable. For instance, if you were to use this high-risk profile, and you're going to assign that to your investigations or to a high-risk department, maybe for that policy, you're taking snapshots every 5 or 10 seconds to give you more visibility on what they're doing, while everyone else may have them set to 30 or 60 seconds. All right, so that gives you an understanding of what it can record. By default, the agent is set to a stealth mode, so it's not visible anywhere to the user. You can make it visible, and we do have some organizations that will do that. The reason for it, deterrence. Letting the user know the product's running on there, that helps deter them from unwanted activity on their machines. And then lastly here, because we can capture websites and screenshots and keystrokes, there are websites that you don't want to record. And HR and legal really like this because you can exclude those sensitive websites, banking, healthcare, internal intranet site. Just add them here and we will not record them. So now that you have an understanding of what it records, now I'm going to move into our recon. So before I do that, I want to show you our keyword categories. So the product comes with these keyword categories, and each one of these contain lots of words. Finance may like the fraud group, and there's lots of words in the fraud group, where you may have HR that are concerned with these. And then you can also create your own custom keyword group. So if there's a particular investigation taking place, or an acquisition or a layoff, maybe you want to create a keyword group with those particular keywords and alert on if those are picked up in certain activities. So now I'm going to move over here to Recon. Now, Recon comes with some predefined alerts here, but I'm going to actually walk through and build one for you just so you can see what options you have available to you. So for instance, we have 4 different ones here. Those keyword groups I just showed you, Recon can process from those, and you can select what groups you want. But it can also do a couple other things. Detect anomaly. It can do a self-to-self anomaly, and what that does is it will create a 20-day machine learning baseline of a normal user's activity. And as that baseline changes over time, we'll continue to build it too. So, because users may change departments and so forth, so we'll want to create and recreate that baseline over time. So we can compare a user to what they normally do and if they fall above or below the norm. Next one down is compare a user to a group of users. So maybe we want to compare somebody in sales to the rest of the sales team to see if they're falling out of the norm from the group. Compromised credentials is fairly new. And what this does is we'll look at your VPN servers to see if any credentials have been compromised, disparate logins, off-time logins, logins at the same time in 2 different regions. So that's a cool feature. But what I'm going to do is walk through a self-to-self here. All right, does this alert process against everyone we're monitoring? Most of the time, or you can narrow it down to a specific group. So what I want to do is I want to run this against my group called investigations. So anybody in our investigations go in that group. Then I'm also concerned with our sales team on the East Coast. Then next, here are the 3 areas we're able to detect the anomalies. This is really geared mostly towards data exfil. As you can see for documents here, we can see the count of your documents. Have the amount that you've edited or renamed and moved around, has that gone up or down from your normal activity? The file sizes, are you now copying more files and larger in size from a network drive that you typically wouldn't do? Printing, another powerful one here. Are you printing more than you normally would? For instance, I may print 1 page a month, but let's say my manager gives me a project to work on. And after I'm done with that project, I print it out and it was 75 pages. Well, that's going to be a deviation from my normal activity. He's going to receive the alert, but no, I was working on that project. On the flip side, let's say I put in my 2 weeks notice. On the last couple of days, I start printing a 75-page, 100-page here, a 300-page here on the last day before I go. Major deviations. They know I'm leaving. They would receive the alert, take action. Outbound transfers. So this is anything going up through those protocols. So FTP, HTTP, and HTTPS. It's always a concern. Cloud storage, email attachments, and of course, document movement to removable and network shares. Next one down is emails. So we can look at the count of your emails. Has it gone up or down? Let's say, for instance, I send out 75 emails a day. I'm a good employee. I put in for a promotion. I get turned down for it. And maybe my productivity slumps with it. Now I'm sending out 20 to 30 emails a day. That's going to be a deviation. You'll receive an alert. Attachments. Maybe those last couple of days before I leave, every time I send out an email, includes an attachment. And I'm BCCing my personal email address or maybe a competitor I'm about to go work for. Very important right there. Overall size of the emails. And then we could also do psycholinguistics on the emails. So we can look for negative and positive tone in the emails. So maybe because I got turned down for that promotion, I become more negative. On the flip side, we may have a negative employee who's always negative, but becomes more positive. Why? Well, maybe he got a promotion. Maybe he won the lottery. Who knows? Or he's about to leave. So we'll get a deviation on that. And then lastly here is resource usage. So we can look at the applications. We'll use a sales rep again. They should be using sales-related application. But let's say somebody who poses as an inside threat actor has a little bit of skill and starts downloading free tools available to them that only security or IT should be using. Well, that's going to fall out of the norm. And then, of course, the network shares. So using the sales rep again, they're mapped to sales drives. But let's say they start poking around the network to try to get to HR, finance drives, something they shouldn't be doing. So you select what you want to alert on, and then over here is where we set the sensitivity. Now, here's the cool thing. We do 5 standard deviations, 1 being the most restrictive, as you can see, high. And as I narrow that down to 5, it's less restrictive. So think of this graph as a hypothetical view of a user's activity. The orange line is going to be that moving average, which again will change over time. The green line simulates your daily activity. And then the hash marks on the top and the bottom, those are the thresholds. If you go above or below, it's going to send out an alert indicated by those red dots. So notice as I go to 4, to 3, to 2, and then 1, and this might be applied to my high-risk departments, any slightest deviations, you're going to receive alerts on them. Then next, here's where you can set up who's to receive the alerts. So Paul, who is our network admin, may want to get these in case they have to log out an account. And then maybe Bill, who's our HR manager. And then maybe John, who's our CISO. And you receive these via email. So when they're triggered, you'll get an email that looks like this. All right, so depending on what type of activity was triggered, for instance, this is document tracking alert on the user T. Sullivan. And just kind of glancing through here, like number of documents, her normal is 5, but she went above it by 10, indicated by the red. If she went below to, let's say, 4 or 3, it would be blue. Number of cloud activity, normal is 5. But let's say, again, before she leaves, she installs OneDrive or Google Drive and then starts uploading large amounts of data. Well, that could go into the hundreds. All right. And this is a self-to-self email, so I'll alert you on the BCCs I keep mentioning. Normal's 5, she went above it by 10, attachments and so forth. So that's what a recon anomaly alert will look like. Now we're going to move up into the dashboard. So what does the data look like? You receive an alert, now it's time to look at what's happening. Now 360 comes with over 115 canned yet customizable charts contained in these folders I'm scrolling through. So depending on your area of concern is going to be your touch point. For instance, if your concern is productivity, you may want to click on this one and get an overview of what's going on. We have predefined charts again, as I mentioned, and these are role-based access. So you can create as many logins to a dashboard as you want. So you can give line managers access to it. You can give your investigators access to it. You can restrict who they can view, either down by individual or by user groups. And you can restrict what data they can view. So maybe for a line manager who's a sales manager, maybe you don't want to let them see anything but emails and websites visited, and you uncheck everything else. And you will only have access to that data while HR and security may have access to everything. So let's look at a couple of these charts. Websites where they're spending the most time. And remember I mentioned the active, focus, and total time? Well, this chart is looking at active time, probably the most important. This one's looking at applications they're spending the most time in. Again, active time. Who's sending out the most email? Maybe that's a good feature if you want to see who's sending out, good marketing material and who's sending out the most of that. And then who's spending the most time chatting down here. All of these are customizable. You can change the way they look. You can narrow the focus by the criteria here. So you can narrow them down to a date and time range if you want for a particular chart, or you can use our global criteria up here that will affect all the charts. So you can narrow it down however you like. So let's look at this one. We see career builder could indicate flight risk. We see Facebook productivity concerns. So we're going to show you at a very high level, and you can scroll through the list real quick to see if anything stands out. There's monster.com, so somebody might be looking for a job. Let's look at Facebook first. So I'm going to drill into the data set here. And it's that quick to identify who visited Facebook. So if there was 100 users or 500, we'll show you right here. Then we break down their active, focus, and total time. So remember, these are very important. So let's look at the total time here. I'm going to go down here to Mick. What I know is in marketing. And marketing, should be in Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all that good stuff. And we see that he has 9 hours and 9 minutes total time. It was in focus for 8 hours and 21 minutes. He was active for 7 hours and 38 minutes. Okay, we're good. He's in marketing. But let's look at the next guy up here, Bill, who's in sales. He had 4 hours and 42 minutes total time. Now, we have some admins that say, yeah, we can see all this through our firewall logs. Well, a lot of times they're going to see this time and could falsely accuse an employee. Because in reality, if you look at the focus and active time, it's 47 minutes. For this particular company, they said it's okay. During your lunch hour, you can go to your personal stuff, browse the internet, whatever you want to do. So he did. But again, IT could have falsely accused them. Then we break down the date and time that it occurred, what device the user was logged into. And this is very important because we combine all the data under their Active Directory name or their username. So if they log into multiple machines or terminal servers or Citrix servers, VDI stuff, we support it all. We're going to combine it under this column right here. What application was used, and then we break down the active, focus, and total time per line item, and even give you hyperlinks. So let me show you a better scenario. Let's go to Career Builder. So we know we're not monitoring HR who might be looking for new employees, so somebody's looking for a job. And we see Mick here was on his PC and his Mac. And we can see real fast over Windows, here in the Windows caption, he's looking for graphics design jobs in Orlando. And over here, he's looking for some through Career Builder. At any time, you can highlight any one line item that you want to see, and then click View Snapshots. And much like that CCTV camera I told you, we have a date and time stamp down here for this particular snapshot. We're on snapshot 580 out of 1026. And then up here is your DVR remote. So think about your remote at home. Each time I click back, I'm going back one slide, right? So I'm kind of retracing this person's steps. If I press play over here, we can see this chat taking place, which we're recording. Over here is where he's looking for a marketing director job. Then he goes to Indeed and looks for more jobs. So the snapshots are very powerful to give you a contextual view of what's going on. Let me show you how this would really work in an investigation. So I'm going to move down here to our investigation panel. Remember, you can build your own panels too, and each of your investigators could have their own login and then build the charts for the areas of their investigation. So you don't all have to have the same thing. So for this scenario, and by the way, this is based off a true scenario that we duplicated from Carnegie and Mellon within our data set here. So we have two individuals, Tara and Frank, who we suspect are inclusion in stealing company data. So we put them under investigation, and it's only filtered to just look at those two individuals. Then we built some charts to look at document tracking by device. So we want to know where the data is going, cloud, USB, network. Then we also are concerned with emails, sent versus received. Then we had some keywords that we set up for the investigation, and if they were triggered, and Dropbox was one of them. You can see there's quite a bit there. And then what did they search for online? We capture the exact search phrase and how many times they searched for it. So let's follow along Tara. So we can see she has 281 cloud events, 32 USB. So let me click on the USB first. Here in the summary, we get a quick overview on what we have here. So on the E drive, she had a total of 32 events. She created 32, no edits, no deletions, no renames. If she were to rename these customer lists that we see, we would show you the new name here. And if she would have printed them, we'll show you how many pages each one of those documents were. Again, all the data is laid out the same way. So event date and time, what device, and you can add and remove columns. Like maybe I want to show device type. It's removable, but what if it was a DVD? We'll show you document path, drive letter, and more importantly, well, what documents are being copied there. So we can see a lot of customer list. So I'm going to go with the first one, view the snapshots. Now this person is privileged. They have access to certain types of data. So Tara has access to, some data, and Frank has access to the other. What they do is they come together to bring the data to send it on the outside, which I'm going to show you here. So if I click back here a couple times, here's where she's inside the P drive. Inside the finance folder is right-clicked to make a copy of project Athena acquisition. On the right is your USB drive, where she's pasting it. And if I press play and slow this down, you can slow it down, speed it up, much like a video. You're going to see some keywords show up in here. Scared, could cost us thousands. Jail time. Those are all red flags, part of our fraudulent keyword group. You would receive alerts on these. Know to take action. If I advance forward one slide at a time, here's where she removes the USB drive. A little bit more. Just keep everything off the books and we'll be fine. Another keyword group. I'm just clicking through these, clear chat history. So what they're trying to do here is cover their tracks. If I go a little further, we can watch them do it. Now that chat's gone to you, but we have it recorded. Even though they erased it, we have both sides of it. So I would deem this very important information that I need to hand over to my HR and legal team. And if you're an investigator on the line with us, you can see where we could put the story together real fast for you. So if you're using your other forensics tools to do data carving and you're having trouble to find stuff, these snapshots help out quite a bit. So what I want to do now is digitally watermark this screen. So when I click Show Info, it's going to put the watermark down here in the lower right, the domain, the user's Active Directory name, the device, date and timestamp. Then if I click Save, I could save the current image displayed in the background, all images, or selected range. So the range is going to be definitely from the start to the end of the questionable activity. So when she plugged that USB drive in to maybe even a couple slides past this, because she goes to Google Hangout chat afterwards. I could either save as JPEG or bitmap. That way I can import into my case management solution or some type of third-party report, or I can compile as an AVI video. Again, digitally watermarked for forensics evidence, and you can hand the video over for legal presentation. All right, so let's follow the same user. We know she had USB drives. That's one way she leaked the data. Two, we have a lot of OneDrive data. Notice it's a lot of customer lists, same stuff. Dropbox, same thing. So there's 3 ways. And then Google Drive. So anytime you can highlight one and actually see the user doing it here. So there's the Dropbox client. There's the Google Hangout chat I mentioned earlier. So that's the outside investor they're leaking the data to. And we're recording both sides of that too. Okay. So let's look at what her emails are. So I want to see, what is she sending out now? So I'm going to go to her sent emails. Date and time. Now, remember I mentioned the devices. She's logged into a couple different devices, Verca 7 for these 2 emails, Verca 6, Verca 5 for these 2. Then she was in the web portal using Firefox, used Outlook here. This is the attachment column, 4 attachments associated with this email. Okay, now we have the option of copying these attachments too, where you can actually open it and view the contents. See exactly what that was. That feature is turned off by default, but you can still see the attachment names. Where did this email come from? It came from Frank, and we know she was chatting with Frank in that chat, not the Skype chat. He sent it to Tara, so he must have had access to these documents, the subject line, carbon copy, and there's a BCC right there for you. So now what I want to do is move on over to our search tool. Veriauto 360 utilizes a SQL backend, so any of the data we can collect, you can query. So this is our search tool. Again, you can narrow the focus. You can narrow it down to specific users, which I've done. So I'm looking at only Tara and Frank's data, no one else. Then you put in your search phrase here, and you have the option of stringing together combinations with and or. You can put quotes around it for exact matches. Below are the event types that we're recording that you can search within. So I want to search, was it picked up in a chat in IM? Did they type it on their keyboard? Were there any documents associated with it that may have gone to USB printed cloud storage? Then I want to search everything. Do I want to search everything in the email? No. I want to search just the contents, the body of the email, and any attachments with it. But maybe I put Solace Energy and I select 2 here, and I put my competitor's domain name, see if they sent it there. Then when you hit search here, it's going to query that database. Any instances we find, we highlight it for you in yellow. Again, date and time, device. This is Frank, but I want to see Tara. So it was picked up in the activity of chat and IM, chat contents, email contents here. Scroll down a little bit more. Attachment name, keystrokes typed, documents. So it's a very powerful search tool. And we were looking at Tara's snapshots earlier. We know she was talking with Frank. So if I look here, this is the chat that was erased. See how we have both sides. With the database, we tie all this together. So I can right-click now directly on Frank, go to his side of the story. There's Tara. If I press play, there's the email that he had access to with those attachments and sent them on over to her, which we saw in the email sent from Tara. All right, so next I want to move on to reporting. Veriauto 360 comes with over 85 canned reports contained in these folders, much like the dashboard. So there's quite a few in here, just depending on what you want to report on. So maybe it's security. Maybe you want to know anybody printing out the most documents, moving files to removable. So you can modify all these, or you can create your own. There is a built-in report wizard here that will allow you to walk through and kind of build any kind of report you're looking for based off the event types that we're collecting. And there's a built-in scheduler. So let's say you don't want to give the dashboard out to anybody. So you want to generate a report for a manager that suspects that, you know, maybe their department is losing time by browsing the internet. So you build a report for websites visited and who's spending the most time on. Use our built-in scheduler here to send those out either via email or to a file folder share in multiple formats, PDF, HTML, rich text, and so forth. You also can watermark the reports with your company logo and any type of textual information you want to put on it. And then lastly is the ability to pipe our data into a SIEM. Maybe it's ArcSight or Splunk or anything that can accept a syslog or CEF. So right now I selected a Splunk server. This is the data that we're piping into it, including our anomaly alerts. So that way you can correlate our data that we're collecting with your other tools, maybe your DLP solutions, your AV, and so forth. So you can get a clearer picture and use one tool to do reporting throughout the whole network.
Our main office is located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. That's the contact information. Please feel free to reach out, or you can reach out to somebody at Centerpoint as well. We really and truly appreciate all your time today. And if you do have questions after you hang up from the webinar, please feel free to reach out to us.